Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with Droid Life. So OnePlus 7 Pro still in the building. As you guys know, we fully reviewed this phone. We've got links to that up there, down below, everywhere. If you haven't checked that out yet, be sure to read it. We've got a lot of good things to say about this phone. OnePlus's best phone by a mile. I know it's their newest, but they've just done a lot of cool things here that I think a lot of people will appreciate, assuming you can get over the size of it. Anyways, all that aside, we know some of you are starting to order this phone and it's going to start showing up soon. So we want to get you ready for when that moment happen. So we usually do that by offering you, well, the first 10 things to do with your OnePlus 7 Pro. To kick things off here, like we do with most of these first 10 things videos, we're gonna talk about security. So this phone has not only face unlock, but a fingerprint reader, and the fingerprint reader is in the display. Now, I'm gonna tell you to use both, and that's because I don't think this fingerprint reader is all that great. Some may disagree with me on that. Their experience may be different than mine, but I use both because the face unlock is actually really, really fast, and it uses that really cool pop-up selfie camera. So anyways, set up both, and what I'm talking about here is fingerprint reader. Put your finger on there, unlocks it. You can see it was pretty quick there, but I've had some problems with some of my other fingers, like that finger, which was fast there, tends to be slow. Either way, I also, you can see there, have the selfie camera, so that will awaken and ask for my face at all times. So set up both of these, and to do that, we go into settings and we scroll down in here to security and lock screen. And from here, you have lock screen, so you have to set up a pattern password PIN. You can't have a swipe or none. That's not secure. Once you do that, you have fingerprint here and face unlock there. Fingerprint, I mean, this is really easy. You just unlock this, say add a fingerprint, and then you start putting your finger on there until it reads it and registers your entire finger. You guys know how that works. So once you have those all set up, and you probably want to do both thumbs, maybe both index fingers, since those are the ones you're going to be accessing the most. From there, I would do face unlock. And to do face unlock, well, I'll remove face and data and I'll re-record it for you. So it says go next, and then you place your phone or your face inside of a circle that's going to pop up, and then it records your face. And now once you record your face, you get to decide how you want that face unlock to work. Auto unlock once the screen is on, or swipe up to unlock. Now the differences there are, well, I'll show you. So if I go ahead and press this button, tap this, you can see it's popped up and ready to unlock. I'm going to jump past that and show you the other way. So the other way is to swipe up to unlock. So if I have that enabled and I tap this, you'll see no camera popped up until I swipe up. Then it pops up. So you get to decide how you want that to work. With that popping up and down, I know some of you might be worried that it could be prone to breaking. So you may want to decide which of those is best for you. So set both of those up. Again, one might be faster than the other, but the face unlock is one of those things I happen to like quite a bit. Sticking with the lock screen though, there's a couple of things to adjust here. So I have it right now set up to tap once brings me this screen that shows clock notifications, and then also my fingerprint. You'll notice if I do a double tap, it only brings me to this screen, not my full lock screen. So what you may want to do, I should say the other thing I have enabled is lift to wake. So if it's off like this and I lift it up a little bit, you can see it popped on right there. So I have both of those enabled. There is a double tap to wake, which is a full wake on this phone if you want. So if we go into settings, and it's actually in gestures and quick gestures, there's a double tap to wake. Now you'll notice something, and I'll get a little closer here. If I turn that on, it tells you that that's enabled, and now tap screen to show is disabled. So that was the single tap that showed my fingerprint. So to show you what I'm talking about now, if I just tap here, you can see I can't get that fingerprint screen to show, but I can double tap, and that brings me to this screen, which pops up that and does fingerprint. So if you're relying more on selfie camera for face unlock, you may want to go double tap to wake versus single tap, because a single tap only brings up the black screen with your fingerprint, not the selfie camera. Do you see where I'm getting at here? So you kind of need to decide which security version is for you. I'm going to stick with this one personally, just because I think it works a little bit better. And now that we're all secure, I'm going to pop into settings. We're going to talk about display setup. So in settings, and if we go into display, a whole bunch of stuff in here to talk about. Number one, you have a night mode on this. Night mode is always worth setting up. I'll just show you. If I turn it on manually, turns my screen sort of this amberish color. So you want to use this at night. Removes the blue light from the screen and is better on your eyes and all of that stuff. And you can adjust how warm you want this as well. I kind of like it all the way cranked. Set a schedule though, or just manually turn it on. It's completely up to you, but definitely set that up. Reading mode is one of those unique features to OnePlus phones. And essentially what it does is it turns your phone into a grayscale that might be better for reading something. So if you read a lot of books or magazines or news on your phone, reading mode might be something you want to enable, and you can manually turn it on. You can also have it automatically turn on depending on apps. So like Google News, for example, maybe you read a lot of stuff through Google News. You want this to launch every time you open Google News. You would just, select it in here. Kind of a cool little feature they do add. If we keep scrolling here, screen calibration, this is where you decide on the color profile. So out of the box, it'll probably be on vivid. You can switch to natural, which is slightly more muted colors, or you can even go advanced, which gives you some more controls where you can choose between NTSC, sRGB, or display P3 profiles. Basically what you should do is tap on every single option in here and just see which you like. And as you change, you'll notice this up here changes between those profiles. I've been using display P3. Then you can also adjust the warmness or coolness of the display. I tend to like a little bit cooler, so I'm going to leave it on that side. But pick one that looks good to your eye. There's no right or wrong here. Just pick something you think looks great. From there, though, this is probably one of the most important, and this is the refresh rate. So this phone, unlike almost any other phone, has a 90 hertz display refresh rate. So that means things in general should just look smoother. And it says that maximum smoothness at higher refresh rate. 60 hertz is also on here. That's what most phones are today. The Galaxy S10 is not even 90 hertz. The only phones that are 90 hertz or above are gaming phones. And because when you're playing games, you want a higher refresh rate. So like the Razer Phone 2, I think there's some Asus phones that are, but those are mostly gaming phones that all look sort of silly. This phone has 90 hertz and it's a normal person phone, I guess. So turn that on to get the smoothest experience. It will hit your battery somewhat. If you want to lengthen your battery out, you can always toggle to 60 hertz. And there's no way for it right now to like dynamically switch between the two depending on apps and all of that stuff. And maybe we'll get there one day. Right now you just have to decide, do I want 90 or 60? And if you decide you want to switch between those in the middle of the day, you have to go in here. I will tell you that, and this won't be able to pick up on camera probably, but from here, if I'm scrolling here at 90, and then I go back and switch to 60 and come over here and scroll, I notice a difference in there. It's just a little more jumpy when I'm on 60 versus 90. And so I think you will be able to tell a difference, but either way, play with it. And if you want more battery, switch it down to 60. All right, so if we keep scrolling here, here's ambient display. So this phone does not have an always on display. And these are some of those options like pick up your phone to have the thing show the clock notifications, your fingerprint reader. There's that tap to show, which is now off because I turned on double tap. Some things to play with here. You can change your clock style on this into a couple of different things. None of them are all that great. And that's pretty much it. This one's important though. You want to have it light up every time you get new notifications. And then the final thing I'll show you is in theme. OnePlus does include a couple of themes. There is a light theme, which looks like this. And if I swipe this down, you get a light notification area. And you can also change the accent color if you want to. There is also a dark theme, which goes to black. So if you want this to be black and potentially save you some battery, there's that as well. I run the colorful theme because it's sort of a mixture of the two. A lot of stuff is white, but you get a dark notification area. So up to you what you want to use there. But those are certainly some display settings you should think about looking at. From there, we're going to back up one screen and go into sounds and vibrations, still in settings here. So there's a bunch of sound settings you may want to look through. Obviously, you've got your 3 sliders up here to adjust between ring, media, and alarm volumes. Your do not disturb settings are in here. You should probably set up some sort of do not disturb so maybe at night you're not getting bugged by unwanted notifications. But you'll find in here Dolby Atmos settings. So this phone is Dolby Atmos certified. You can have dynamic, movie, or music profiles. Again, I'll let you decide what you want to do there, but those are your settings there. You can have some special things happen when you plug in earphones or attach earphones, like auto play music from where you last left off. Have it answer with speaker calls, that sort of thing. Those are in there. But if we go down here, there's kind of some cool things. So I'm actually going to turn my volume back on, and you're not going to be able to notice this probably on camera, but there's a new haptic engine in this. So the vibrations you feel as you move around your phone, get vibration notifications, ringtones, and that sort of stuff. And what OnePlus has done is in this incoming call vibration pattern, if you set it to dynamic, what it'll do is as your phone rings, it'll match the vibrations to the beat of whatever your ringtone is. Now this is just like one of those little cool things. So again, you can hear that, but it's vibrating in my hand to every single one of those, which is just kind of cool. That's like a cool little feature. So pick a ringtone and then go with dynamic, and maybe just play with those just so you can see how cool that that new vibration is. Another thing in here is vibration intensity. So vibration intensity, you can set your incoming calls to vibrate really strong as those come in. So hopefully you don't miss those. And then maybe your notifications, you don't want to be bugged quite so much or vibrate your entire desk. So you could change those to light. So just something to change in there. Now back another screen and down one more, buttons and gestures. I know we're already in here, but there's more to talk about. So the first thing is your alert slider. So this phone, like most OnePlus phones, does indeed have an alert slider. So if you slide that thing all the way up, it goes into vibrate mode. If you slide all the way up, it goes into silent mode. You slide it into the middle, it goes into vibrate mode, and then all the way down is ring. So you actually get sounds. There are some settings here to tweak for each one. So silent, you can make sure that alarms still ring through and also have it mute your media volume at the same time. In vibration, not a lot here other than having your alarms ring through. And then in ring mode, not much other than vibrating for calls. But just know that there are a couple settings there, and that alert slider is that guy right there, in case you're wondering what that was. I'm going to skip that one, but we're going to go into quickly turning on camera. So definitely leave that toggled on. And what that's talking about is double tapping your power button launches you into the camera. That's going to be mostly your quickest way to get into the camera. I would go ahead and leave that on. This quick activate of Google Assistant or an Assistant app is kind of a neat little trick. If you turn that on and you long press on your power button for a second, it actually launches Google Assistant, which is kind of cool. And then if you want to turn your phone off and you have that enabled, you really do have to just keep pressing and pressing, and then it'll finally go through. So it takes like 5 seconds maybe to get there. Up to you if you want that. You may want to turn that on as we go into Navbar and Gesture. So in Navbar and Gestures, you get to decide what kind of navigation setup you want on this phone. Out of the box, I believe it comes as this with back, home, and recent or app switcher. That's sort of the standard default of Android, but OnePlus includes two more. There is a back home setup, which is kind of like the Pixel setup, where you can swipe up on here and that gets you into your app switcher. You can swipe around here to get into other apps, and then there's a back button, obviously. And then the third one is navigation gestures, and there are no navigation now. So it's a swipe up and hold, and that gets you into your app switcher. It's a swipe up just to go home. It's a swipe up and hold to get back into other apps. Swipe up and go this way in case you want to quickly toggle between apps. And then if you want to go back, you have a gesture on the right and left side of home that'll let you go back. So I can just swipe there and those go back. So that's navigation. You need to decide what you want to use. The gestures are kind of the more modern version that everyone's sort of leaning towards. The back home is Google's sort of test that they did with Android Pie, which may be going away soon. And then you have the traditional Android setup. If you choose one of these top two, you do get some extra features. So this area up here highlights when you have these top two selected, and those are customizations. So what OnePlus is letting you do is decide like what long presses do on here, and even a long press on the back button. So like, let's say on the home button, I want to have a double tap, turn my screen off. Okay, so it's kind of a quick little shortcut, right? So if I just tap on that, screen off, right? You can also change it. So if I don't want long pressing to be assistant, you could have that be open shelf or open and close a menu or something like that. So you have some customization you can do there. Again, you can do that with these two options, not navigation gesture. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in this navigation area that you're going to want to check out. As far as quick gestures go, some cool stuff in here too, like 3-fingered screenshot. If you have that turn on, you just swipe 3 fingers on your screen, it goes ahead and takes a screenshot for you. You can have answer calls, so that as a call comes in, you just pick up your phone and put it to your ear. It'll answer it for you. There's that double tap to wake in case you decide which way you want to go there on your lock screen. And then you can do other things like gestures from your lock screen when the screen is off, like draw a V to open Assistant, or Gmail, or an O to do the camera. So I'll just show you how that works. So if your screen is off like this and I draw an O, that will launch my camera. So kind of a cool little thing, but just some stuff to play with in there to get your gestures all set up. All right, now let's take it back home and talk a little bit about just home screen customization, getting some of this stuff set up. So your home screen, this is all pretty simple stuff. OnePlus's launcher is super simple. It's kind of like a Google take on a launcher, but maybe even more simple. So swipe up gets you into your app drawer. You know how that works. If you want to grab an app and drag it onto a home screen, you just long press and drag it. If you want to make a folder, you just put 2 apps on top of each other. This is pretty standard Android stuff. I'm not sure you need me to show you much more about that. If you wanted to get some extra info about an app, you can always just long press on it and then release. And OnePlus builds in shortcuts to remove, uninstall, edit, which just kind of lets you change the icon or the name of it. Or you can tap on app info and that'll let you, force stop it, uninstall it, obviously, turn off notifications for it, see how much storage it's using, that sort of thing. Depending on the app, you may see some of these shortcuts up here. Those are just app shortcuts that they built into apps. And that's a developer thing. That's not a OnePlus thing. If we swipe over this way, there's a thing called the shelf. Now, this is something specific to what OnePlus is doing. And it's kind of like a quick toolbox, if you will. Like there's an easy way to write memos right here, right? There's also some tools here like quickly get to your calculator or launch into a selfie or set a timer. There's a parking location thing where you take a picture of your car or mark the location. And if you want, you can add more to this. So you can tap this settings button up here and there's a more section. You could have your dashboard that shows you phone usage or your recent contacts or recent apps you've used. You can add all of those to it. You can also go in and add just about any widget that your phone has over into this shelf. So let's say you want a weather widget on your home screen, but maybe not on the single home screen. You want it buried a little bit over in the shelf. You can do that. And that's the shelf. You can also turn the shelf off if you want. So if we go back home here, and let me get rid of this because it's bugging me. Long press here to get into some settings. This is where you change your wallpapers. This is where you find your widgets to put on your home screens. And then in home settings, a couple things in here to note. Number one, definitely leave that swipe down on. So if you have swipe down, that means I can swipe down anywhere and that brings my notification shade down. I don't have to reach all the way up here on this 6.67 inch screen. I can just swipe right here. Definitely, again, leave that on. Double tap to lock is kind of cool. I think that's off out of the box, but if you have that on, use double tap. It actually will lock your phone. So consider turning that on as well. Couple other things though. So the shelf is right here. If you don't want that shelf, you can just turn it off right there. You can change icon packs. There's a couple of different OnePlus icon options, and there's also a more option in case you have third-party icon packs that you want to install from, say, like Google Play or something like that. And finally, you have home screen layout where you can adjust the number of columns on your home screen and also the icon size. So just some quick stuff to get you customizing there. Now, if we swipe into the notification area, just some things to note here. Number one, this is just kind of an Android tip in general, but swiping down on notification often expands those. And if it does, it might give you some extra controls. Like if I take a screenshot, I can share or delete it from this. And those options are hidden initially. Anyway, so up top here, I have 6 icons showing. These are things I think you should customize. So if I do a double swipe down to get into the full notification quick settings area, there is a pencil button here that lets you edit this. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the first 6, you want to make sure they're the ones you access the most. So you can long press on these and drag these into any sort of order. There's additional ones down here that may not show up that you may want to add to it. And then there's additional pages too, depending on how many you have. But again, those first 6 are really important because again, and you swipe this down once, those first 6 show up. So those are the things you use the most, like turning on airplane mode or maybe accessing your flashlight or turning Wi-Fi off and on. So make sure you get those properly set up. Let's now dive back into settings. So we're actually going to scroll down into this section called utilities. So OnePlus builds in some utilities that are sort of unique features that maybe not everyone will use, but you might find useful depending on your style of using your phone. So like you'll find a gaming mode in here. I'm not a big gamer, but if you're a big gamer, this is stuff you should set up. So when you're playing games, you can have your phone like only answer calls via speaker. So you can still continue to play your game while you're answering calls. You can tell it to block notifications as well. This is an important one, disabling auto brightness. So if you don't have this turned on, you're playing a game, there's a good chance auto brightness may dim or brighten your game as you're playing it. You may not want that, so I would put that on. There's also a gaming display enhancer where they try to just adjust some of the lighting situations as you're playing to hopefully help you see better and have a better visual experience. Initially, it will try to load up all the games you have on your phone so that these rules apply out of the gate. So you can remove them if you don't want those rules to apply. If you don't see some games in here, like all these kitty games I have, you can go down here and tap add apps to gaming mode. You can specifically add individual apps. if you go in here, there's this weird quick launch thing, and it's like if you put your thumb or your finger on your fingerprint reader and then you continue holding it there, as it unlocks and goes through to your home screen, it'll let you quickly launch apps. It makes no sense to me, but I'll show you how it works. So if I go in here and I just keep holding, and now if I keep holding and I swipe around, I have shortcuts to like adding new events and doing some other stuff. It's kind of a weird thing, and I've never found it to be useful, but you may. So that's what that is. And you can customize the shortcuts and things like that too. It doesn't have to be those random ones. There's an app locker in here where you can put apps behind your password or your fingerprint if you want. So just as an example, I have Adobe Sign. So all that means is if I try to open Adobe Sign, it now asks me for my pattern or my password, and then I can do that and it'll get me into Adobe Sign. So just a little security thing there in case you want like your messaging app or Facebook or something behind there. I will show you scheduled power on and off. You're one of those people that likes to have your phone do a power cycle every night, maybe to clear up memory and all of that stuff. You can actually do that on a OnePlus phone, which is kind of cool. Backing up one more screen though, we will go to the next one, which is actually digital well-being. So digital well-being, this is Google's suite of software that OnePlus is now including. Digital well-being, for those not familiar, is Google's attempt at trying to get you to disconnect from your phone a little bit more. So you can see it tracks all of your usage of apps. You can set timers so that apps will just stop letting you use them after a certain amount of time. There's also a setting called wind down here, which turns your phone into grayscale to hopefully annoy you into putting your phone down. So the point is here, show you how much you're using Twitter, let you set limits on using Twitter or YouTube or whatever, and then annoying you into putting your phone down. What I will say is decide if that sounds like something you care about. And the reason I say that is because there's somewhat of a controversy brewing right now around digital well-being, where Google Pixel phone owners are thinking or realizing or discovering or something that by turning digital well-being off, they're seeing a performance boost. Now, this phone doesn't have any performance issues, but let's say you do think there is a performance issue. You may want to turn this off. And by doing that, you tap on the menu up here and say turn off usage access, and then confirm that. And then in here, tap on it and then take away that usage access, and it'll stop sort of tracking all of that usage access. And then that takes away some of those cool pie charts. But that's kind of a thing. So anyway, just decide if that's something you want to do. And finally, then let's go into the camera just to show you a couple of things. So double tap, that will launch the camera. I mean, there's a camera app too, but this is the quickest way to do it. So in the camera app, a pretty simple camera app for the most part. Down here, you've got your different modes, which you can see laid out there. So I'm in photo mode now, but I can go into portrait mode if I want. There's a night mode over here. I can also swipe across the screen to get to these different modes. That'll get me over to maybe even video mode. Swipe back, get to photo. So that's a quick way to jump between different modes. If I swipe up in this black area, it actually shows me more stuff. So you'll notice Pro, time-lapse, panorama, slow motion are also available, and this is the way I access those. You can just tap on those and it'll let you into those. There's a settings button down here in case you want to customize anything. So you can actually customize those modes. Like let's say you want Pro mode instead of portrait mode. You could add that right here. You can say, hey, I want Pro mode to show up and I want it to be the first one. So now Pro mode's right there. Some other things in here, storage location data. It's up to you if you want your photos to basically be tracked with map data. There's a quick capture option. So if you double tap on that button and this is on, it'll take a picture immediately. So rather than waiting for you to hit a shutter button, it'll just try to take a picture. It's basically the quickest way you could take a picture. I always like to turn a grid on. Definitely turn off this watermark if it's on. I don't know why you would want OnePlus watermarks on all of your photos, but there's a histogram in here and some other stuff too. So just some of those quick settings. As you're in each different setting here, you'll notice some settings up top. So you can choose the ratio or resolution. You can set a timer, and here's your flash controls just from photo. If I switch over to video, you'll notice those change. So this is where I would choose my video resolution. 4K 60 frames per second, 1080 60 or regular 1080. And if I switch over to like even Pro, you still have some options up here. I can shoot in RAW if I want to. So lots of stuff to play with depending on the mode you're in. You'll notice these three buttons right here. So you have three cameras on the back, three of them. So when you're in the center here, you have, it says 1x there, and then there's a single tree over here and three trees over there on the left. So when you're in the middle, you're shooting with the 48 megapixel camera that drops everything down to 12 megapixel. That's sort of your standard shooter you'll shoot most stuff in. If I tap on the single tree, that's the 3x zoom telephoto at work. And over here, the 3 tree is the super ultra wide. So just tap between those. That's how you get between your different zooms. If I tap on this again when I'm in a mode, it lets me adjust zoom further. So the 2 trees, I can tap on that as well. And you can kind of scroll then between to adjust zoom. See how that works? So you can kind of do it that way as well. For the most part though, that's the camera. And that is our first 10 things video. In fact, I think there was only 9 categories, so I apologize if you feel like I'm cheating you guys, but we talked a lot. So more comments and questions, let us know. Again, read that OnePlus 7 Pro review. We are Droid Life. Peace.